I got the Singer Quantum 9960 back in September of 2022, and I wanted to share with you what I think about this machine after using it for about a year and a half. A little bit of context, I am a fashion design graduate, and that means I worked with industrial sewing machines most of the time. And also after graduating, I worked in the industry with a whole bunch of different industrial sewing machines. So I am coming at it from that context, but I think that you'll be surprised with my review of this machine because it surprised me too. So one of the first things that I loved about this machine is that it's super easy threading. Like, I've never threaded a machine so quickly. I'm gonna show you right now. This is backwards. I'm gonna show you how quick it is. Just put it in. There's like 2 arrows that you go around, and you go down, up, down. And I'm not gonna thread the needle, but there is a needle threader, and then it's done. So because of this, when I change my thread, previously with an industrial sewing machine, I would cut the thread like right above the spool, tie off the new thread and pull it through. But this one, I just take the thread out and just totally rethread with the new spool that I'm using. And I love that about this machine. Another thing that's super wonderful that I've never experienced before is this clear bobbin compartment cover, because it's really easy to check where I'm at with my thread so that I don't end up having to sew with a phantom bobbin. You know how that goes. It's so annoying. I mean, I've still managed to sew with a phantom bobbin many times with this machine, but that's mainly because I'm not thinking about it. Industrial machines don't really have this. Maybe the brand new ones do. I just have never experienced them. The auto cut button located right here, I can't go back. So this machine is a digital sewing machine. I kind of poo-pooed the digital sewing machine on my sewing machine review video, but I went for a digital sewing machine, and some of the aspects of a digital sewing machine are so amazing. I think the only aspect about a digital sewing machine that's not great is that if it breaks, it's a little harder to get serviced. I don't know if anybody's experienced a broken digital sewing machine and the costs that are involved in fixing it, but I've heard that it can be kind of crazy. But in spite of that, I'm still willing to take advantage of all the digital benefits that this sewing machine has. Something I've also never experienced is the fact that whenever I stop sewing, the needle is down. It automatically ends down. So that makes it really easy to pivot when I'm sewing a corner. I use the hand wheel less. And then there's also a down up button, so if I don't want to use the hand wheel and I want to get it all the way up to its full rotation, I just press this down up button. And I can even sew with this too instead of using the hand wheel. At first I was kind of like, I don't really need this. Like, what is this for? I can use the hand wheel. But as I sewed, I really got into it and I was like, this is wonderful. Another thing that's quite obvious is the plethora of stitches that are available. There's lots of fancy, interesting stitches, but then there's also just the normal, like, great stitches that you want. And because of the digital function, let me turn this on. So it's really easy to select different stitches. There's like a button for the double needle, zigzag, blind hem, lightning stitch, and then there's so many buttonhole options. That's another thing, the buttonhole. The buttonhole on this machine is so easy, so seamless. It works on really thick fabric because it has a plate on the bottom, and it's just really, really wonderful. Back in fashion school, we'd actually just mark our buttonholes and then go to a professional buttonholer, and it was like $1.50 per buttonhole. And I mean, when you're a student, that's kind of like every little bit of money counts. So it was kind of annoying to do that, but at least you got a professional buttonhole. I've worked with other machines where it's more of a manual 4-step changing the gears situation. But this machine is just like, you set it up, you put your button in the back, it gives you the right size because of that, and then you let it run. And it's just so great. The result is beautiful. That's kind of the epitome of this machine being able to do it all, because buttonholes can be so annoying. And even sometimes you have the perfect setup and your fabric is making it a really annoying process. So having this just wonderful buttonhole setting is invaluable. This machine comes with a whole bunch of foot options, which is really great. So we have our all-purpose presser foot. I think there's 2 of those that are kind of slightly different. We have a buttonhole foot, we have a walking foot even, which I've never tried, a hem roller foot, which I use a lot, regular zipper foot. I had to buy a invisible zipper foot, which I really highly recommend getting because it makes invisible zipper sewing so much easier. The amount of options that this comes with is really great, and it's going to suit all of your needs for sewing, so that's a wonderful thing about that. I guess I said this a minute ago, but I love being able to do everything on this machine. When I was working on my industrial sewing machine, I had to have a few other machines in order to do other things. I had a cover stitch machine, and I had a machine set up just for buttonholes, plus a serger. So that's 4 sewing machines, and that takes up a lot of space. But yeah, speaking of the double needle, I bought a cover stitch machine for like $700 or something crazy like that. This double stitch option as a cover stitch is 10 times better than that cover stitch machine. And I've worked on industrial ones. Cover stitch machines tend to be very finicky. You really have to be careful with how you thread them, and mine was skipping stitches and it was just really annoying. But this one works like a dream. And by the way, a cover stitch is basically, if you're wearing a t-shirt right now, just look at the hem. It's that double needle stitch, and then the back has this kind of zigzag overlock type stitch on the back, and it basically allows it to stretch. So it's really great for knits, and it looks really professional. So I'd probably say all domestic machines are compatible with a double needle. And that brings me to sewing with jersey. I've also had trouble sewing a zigzag stitch with jersey on my other machines that I've had, particularly domestic machines, because my industrial machine doesn't have a zigzag stitch, and it was very annoying. But this machine, you put a jersey needle or stretch needle in it, and it works like a dream. I think lately I haven't even been changing the needle to a jersey or stretch needle and it works perfectly fine. Like I really love it. One thing that really surprised me about this machine was its ability to work with heavy fabrics. I was like, what? I was using this wool thick blanket fabric to make one of my Betsy utility jackets. When I changed my needle to a thicker needle, it just worked like a dream with the thick fabric. I would say it was even better than my industrial sewing machine, believe it or not. I don't know, it just worked really well. If you want an all-around sewing machine that works with like most types of garments that you want to sew, this one's surprisingly good. I was really I was taken aback. Free arm. Industrial machines don't have free arms unless they're specialized machines. The free arm makes such a difference for sleeve hems, neckline, anything like that. It is on pretty much every domestic machine these days, but just make sure it's there on the list if you are going to get a new machine, because it's really quite valuable. Makes things easy. And then we can talk about portability. Like domestic machines, they're so great because they're portable. That's why they're domestic machines. And especially for me who films tutorials, it's really nice that I can just put this machine on this rollable table, and I can film in whatever angle that I want, so that's convenient. Okay, we're moving on to what I don't like about this machine. It sounds really clunky, and for a girl that has sewn on so many super smooth, jukey machines, reliable, I've been spoiled. And this one sometimes sounds like a garbage truck, like crackle, 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 crackle. Like that's how it sounds. And if I was to get another machine, I want something that runs smoothly like butter, okay? So that's one thing that I'm like, ew, no. I don't like that. But I find that most domestic machines are kind of like this. I'm looking into Bernina because I've heard they're good. And then another thing, I'm not sure that the threader works. I never use it. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm just not used to it. Maybe I'm just stubborn and set in my ways. It has worked at one point and it was really wonderful when it did, but I'm so used to just threading the needle super easily. As long as you snip the end of your thread, maybe lick it, put it in. Like, it goes in so easy. This aspect drives me insane. This machine is way too slow for me. I think it goes up to 500 stitches. It's not fast enough. It's nowhere near fast enough. I have it at the highest setting and I'm dying, people. It's hard for me. That's something I'm like, okay, if I get a new machine, it needs to be faster. But anyway, those are my main cons. I don't really have any other cons. And then there are some pros slash cons. So I find that the foot pressure on most domestic machines, at least most new domestic machines, is really light. And this is not the case on industrial sewing machines, like the default pressure of the foot. So in one sense, it actually makes it a lot better, because usually what happens is if you have 2 layers of fabric and you're trying to sew a seam, the top layer, if you haven't pinned it and if you're not guiding it in right, can sometimes slightly shift because it's being pushed by the presser foot. And that doesn't happen as easily on this machine. So it's actually made it really easy in some situations. But on the flip side, I find it incredibly difficult to sew really neat top stitching. And when I sewed on my industrial sewing machine, it was just very nice because I took my time at it. And even if I take my time with this, it seems like it's really hard because the foot pressure is so light. I think I can adjust the foot pressure, but to be honest, I don't really want to mess with that. And I think that's just the thing with most domestic machines. I don't think this will really annoy you though if you're a new sewer, but yeah, it bothered me. I've been sewing for over 10 years. Another thing that was kind of annoying is that I didn't know how to backstitch quickly on this machine. There's a button here, a backstitch button that, like, I mean, every machine has a backstitch button. If it doesn't, like, it's from the dark ages. But I was like pressing it and it wasn't going fast. So I realized I had to have the pedal down and be kind of like mid sewing forward and then press it, and it would give me like a quick backstitch. I mean, it's kind of good that it has this slow backstitch option because sometimes you can backstitch too far. So it's nice that it has like a slow backstitch, and sometimes I do use that because I want to count the number of backstitches that I did so that I'm really accurate. Once I figured out that it could backstitch quickly as well, then I was very happy. It also has like a backstitch option where you can set it to backstitch automatically at the start and at the end, or even just at the start or just at the end. I haven't really used that because it kind of makes me uncomfortable. But you might find that's really great, especially if you're like doing production sewing of some sort. Yeah, so that's basically the pros and cons of this machine. Now I want to tell you what sets this machine apart from the rest. I think that the number one thing I'm gonna say is the buttonhole options and the whole like setup. Next, I would say that it works really well with heavy duty. Not all machines are great at heavy duty. And then the digital aspect is really, really convenient. Not every machine is digital. Some machines are mechanical. I'm just gonna mention again the auto cut. Auto cut is just, it's so wonderful. You don't have to end up snipping all those seams all the time. It's really convenient, and that's one of the things that a digital machine has. I would 100% recommend this machine after using it for 1.5 years exclusively as my only machine. It is a higher price point, but if you can afford it, it's definitely something to consider. Now the question is this my be-all and end-all machine? I'm gonna have this for years, sew on it forever. And to that, I will say a resounding no. The annoyances about this machine, namely the one that it's too slow and too clunky sounding and not smooth, those things really matter to me actually. If I get another chance to buy another machine, I will definitely take it. I'm looking at maybe a Bernina domestic or a digital industrial machine. I'm open to those. I don't know if I want to go back to industrial. Like, I feel like that's something that I will get into when I have a bigger space. If you want to get this machine, it is in my Amazon storefront, along with a lot of the other sewing tools that I swear by, so you can check that out. That'll be linked below. Definitely subscribe to my channel. I have lots to share with you, and if you like this, there's more where that came from. Thanks for watching, guys.